Right, happy days. We're back and we're at the Brierley drill grinder. Right, plan is I'm going to do a bit of grinding today. Found out a few more things, but this wheel's a bit glazed. I'm going to dress this off, and while I'm at it I'm going to dress the cup wheel. And this is the proper dressing tool. It clamps in the chuck and pushes backwards and forwards with a diamond tip, so that this angle is the same as the approach angle of the head, providing you mount a diamond in the chuck properly and it doesn't foul the other wheel, which is tricky. You can get the same movement just by moving the head backwards and forwards. We've locked off the head down at the bottom here so that it can't go backwards and forwards. It's absolutely rock solid. So what you've got there is the tool able to move backwards and forwards. Bring the wheel in. Let's fire it up. Okay, so the angle from this side of the cup to this side should be 105 degrees. So just using the protractor, we're going to then come and dress this side of the wheel. So we're going to move the workhead round. Okay, we've moved the head round. That face has been set. And there's my 105 degrees. Bring the head in. So we're at tight quarters. If this head pushes forward, I'm going to hit my wheel. So I'm going to be holding the head, spinning the wheel, dressing it off. Well, that's got me a very sharp tip there. So what I'm going to do is just radius that off, just with a dressing stick. So just roll that edge. That is lovely and smooth, and there's a nice radius on there. Cracking. Dress the big boy now. So we're going to bring that head back round. Take out my dressing tool. You know, we're getting rid of all the grindy dust. Just put our diamond dressing stone in there. Spot on 90 degrees. So I've dropped the pin in there. Again, the head is locked, there's no movement on it. Feed the wheel in. Do this with your vacuum on, which you wouldn't hear a blooming thing if I had it turned on. So that's a nice open wheel now, nice and clean and tidy. While I was grinding a drill the other day, I did someone's in the past. I just unlocked this, managed to do pretty decent job of grinding the chuck. All right, and you think, oh, how do you know, come on, don't be so blooming daft. And then I went and crashed the machine myself, which was quite handy because I found out a few more things about it. So what happened? I just forgot to retract the setting tool before I started rotating a drill. So I took the setting tool off to have a look at it. So the setting tool sits there, advances in and catches on the lip of the drill. I hit it with the drill and the head span round a bit. So I took it to pieces, found the tiny little grub screw and thought, oh, it's just the grub screw that's loose. No, it wasn't. There should be, or there was, a roll pin in here. And what had happened with time, the roll pin had been broken previously and this head had dropped to slightly the wrong height. So the roll pin that's in there is essential for getting this assembly to the right height and to the right camber in comparison to the axis of the drill. And it did make a big difference. So what I've done is okay, so it's small stuff. We've used a little tapered reamer, re-established the hole in the right place, put a tapered steel pin in, and now this is on the right height and properly clocked for the drill. I had problems with not quite grinding drills perfectly, and I adapted my technique, but when this is set correctly, I don't need to do that. And this is a good drill grinder. It's really tidy, so I suspect that there'll be a lot of these little broken roll pins and someone will have cranked on that little Allen key just to try and hold things tight. So there we have it, up close and personal. That was a roll pin, it's now a tapered pin. There's your grub screw. This head has to be an accurate height and clocked in an accurate position. It has revolutionized the grinder for me. Previously, I'd cut back this lip because I'd been setting the tool. I'd set this dead square to the axis, but actually that's how it should look. So this is set off at quite a steep angle. This is your lip height tool, and that's a point. That's a center. So basically, lip height is bang on center. If you haven't got the setting tool, just set your lip to that height. Okay, so great fun. That's the tip of my wiggler, and I was setting up a piece, and my Morse Taper 2 adapter fell out and came out with a wiggler. Great. So what I'm going to do is put a tip back on here. It's too delicate and small to fit in the grinder itself. So what I'm going to do is mount that in an ER collet that we've adjusted, and you can see that nice pick of that. Okay, so we've got that mounted good and true in an ER collet that we've adapted. We don't want the head going in and out. Pull the head out, take your cam wheel off. That's not going to go in and out. We've locked it so that it can't go side to side. Now what we're going to do is just bring this right round. Alright, so we've made space, brought the head right round. I'm going to see if we can get rid of the dink on the end of that wiggler. Lummy thing. Okay, so that's got the end of my wiggler good and true. Same thing goes for these little centre punches I've been making. You know, been a bit of clumsy work done with a couple of taps, but just put the head round, get yourself a fine point, and these really make very nice centre pomps. So we've been grinding centre pomps on the drill grinder as well. Whenever I'm using the grinder, I'm running it with a towel. It really collects the dust, you know, the pile of the towel just fills up with the dust, and then the dust just gets shaken away. Something that I keep doing is knobbling the end of my drills. However tight I seem to put them in. Anyway, what we can do while we've got the drill head round this side is get it absolutely set to a 0. Now I reckon I've got a good grip on that. The only downside of this is I tend to take off the marking that tells me what the drill is. So I always leave a little bit of land so I can measure it with calipers. Right, well I've blued up that shank, and I ground it, running it just in the chuck, and then missed a bit, and so I've remounted it in a collet, see if it did any better. See if I got a better hold on the drill. Yeah. Right, so end result of grinding that in the collet is it looks pretty clean and tidy, and ready for me to nobble in the drill chuck again. Yip. Alright, well that was a bit annoying. I thought we'd be sort of really close. I mean, it was close, but not as close as I thought it would be. So I've measured this drill, and the reason that we took more off than I thought is because we're not totally true to the axis of the grinder and the axis of the mount. All right, so we're kinked off this way slightly, so we were grinding more on one end of a shank than the far end. Not much, but that's why it looked like I'd taken more off, and why down at the hub it feels like not very much. So what we're doing is we're going to mark out centre height. That's about centre height. Okay, so sit rep, I've got a little indicator here and a little indicator here, and I've loosened off at the back, and I'm going to move the whole head round a little bit. Okay, so we've corrected the angulation slightly, but we can't change for that run out. So if that's the high there, just turn that around, just see if the high's in the same place. Yeah. So the high's there now. So we rotated the bar and it's moved the position of the high. So it's not the bar that's bent. The bar's pretty straight. So we think the head's more trued up. We're going to take a test cut and see if that gives us a parallel strike. We've got a clock gauge on the back. Okay, so that's giving me quite a good long straight pattern all the way along there. Wonderful. Okay, don't move anything. So right round the back here is my watching dial. We know we're true now. That looks good. The wheel was true, the spindle's true, everything's good. So we're going to set a stop. We're going to set a couple of clock gauges, and then I'm going to remelt the little hole so that my pin drops, bob into the hole, reproducible, and this is as neat and smart as it possibly can be. I don't mind if it's not quite there and it tapers a little bit, but we want better than we had. Right, I've got the indicator at the back. I know where I'm going. I'm going to, we're taking the lock off, the stud off, unlock the head there. Just take this lock nut off. I'm watching my indicator at the back there, which looks good. Okay, so the set of under bearings is still here. There's a rubber washer to keep the grit out. Alright. So we've got the workhead off, and I'm going to work on the hole down there and just work it that way. And as well as that, what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of more of a taper so that the pin advances further into the holes, and I've scribed this off at the back, so I've got my clock gauge and I've got a scribe mark. So now I've got to fiddle around with that hole. Right, there you go. So see if that gets down the hole. So I'm going to come around that side of the hole and file it up. You know, it wasn't far out, but it's enough, isn't it? Let's get it right. We're back. We've got slow progress, marking up with engineers marking stuff. I'll put it on with a bit of a felt pad because it blooming goes everywhere, just to see if we're getting a sort of a hole that still reasonably round, and we're tight on that side and we're tight at the top round on that side. So, you know, I've taken more out of the top than I have further down. That's not altogether terrible, and at least the top's all gripping tight at the same time. So yeah, that took blimmin' ages. Anyway, there we are. Oh, an awful lot of filing and fiddling. And we're there. We're pretty much on our zero. I'm going to put the thing back together now. Wonderful. You've got a thrust bearing at the bottom. Sits in there. It's all clean. Taking my rubber washer, making sure there's no gloop on it, no grit. Right, so we've got a bronze bushing sat inside there. Got my dangly bit. Ooh. It's not my day. Right, well, I'm just going to grind a new pin and just see how far off we are. So we're a little ways off, but I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so I blued the whole thing off, moved it out, and we'll see where we're at. So at the tip, we are, say, 304. And at the hilt, .308. So there's 4,000th taper in an inch. Right, so we've seen that we need to dress the wheels and how to do it. We know that we've got to set the pillar and the setting lip guide correctly. We know it's good for grinding center pomps and for wiggler tips. It's not a cylindrical grinder, that's not its job, but you can grind up the butts of drills, tidy them up, and the way to do it is to set the head right round, cut a test stripe along the butt of the drill, and if it's the same thickness all the way along, then it's probably, you know, good enough, and just grind the butt down. So after that kerfuffle, I'm going to do another video on the accurate setting up for grinding right hand drills, so you can see the working of the head and the cams. So thanks for watching. I'll do a bit more on another day. Shed guy gone.